Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about books. That's why I'm sitting in front of my bookshelf. And specifically, we are going to be talking about a series of books that has significantly impacted my life. This is a series. It is the 100 Oaks series by Miranda Keenly. And this series is all about, it's a young adult series all about girls in sports, is kind of how it really started out as. So the first book in this series is called Catching Jordan. I remember picking this up off the bookshelf at my local library in 2011. I was a girl who was interested in sports as a kid. I loved sports, and this was one of the first books about girls playing sports, and in specifically a male-dominated sport. It's about a female high school football player who is the quarterback of her team. A new hotshot quarterback moves into town, and they are also romances, so love ensues and things happen. So I loved this book, and when I read it, I felt like I could relate to the main character. I was just starting high school myself, and even though I was not an athletic or sporty person, I just felt like I could relate to the characters in the book, and I really enjoyed the storyline. So then later on, I go back to my library, and on the shelf, this one was published in 2012, so a year later, I go to the shelf, and there is the next book in the series. And I'm like, that cover and font, though that looks familiar. I pick it up, and I realize it's by the same author as this book. And this one is about a girl who plays softball and baseball, and it also tackles issues around family life and things like that, which was something I was not getting in a lot of the books that young adults books I was reading. So it really tackles the girl's relationship, main girl Parker, her relationship with her mom, and like some personal things that she goes through. So I just started seeing myself in these characters, which is why I fell in love with these books. And then, because I had read two of the books, I kept looking for more books. And the next one that came out was very different than the first two. It wasn't about sports, it was about a summer camp. And the way that these all are related is all of these books take place in the same town. And you see some of the characters, the main characters or side characters from each book, show up in the other books. So Jordan, our main character in this book, also appears in Stealing Parker. So they all take place in the same town, but it focuses around different main characters. So Things I Can't Forget actually takes place at a summer camp. And it is very different from the first two, and it's not involved around sports, but it's again tackling a big issue that our main character Kate has to grapple with. Something that someone else did in her life goes against her values, and she isn't sure how to cope with that. And so this summer camp is really her figuring out how she can go on with her life, and kind of reevaluating her own values and how they align with how she sees other people. So that was a very interesting break. But again, it's tackling issues that aren't talked about in regular teen novels. Then, so these three take place within a similar time span. The fourth book, Racing Savannah, there's a little bit of a time hop. So it's some of the younger characters that have appeared in the first three books. So younger siblings of characters in those books are now starting to pop up here, and this is about a female jockey who they're new to town, her and her father, and she has a crush on the boy whose family owns the farm that she works at, and her trying to, one, fit into this new town, figure out who she is as a person, and not let this crush get in the way of her dreams. So that one was really good. Another one of my favorites, I always watch the Kentucky Derby with my family. It's just one of the things that we do, so it kind of invoked a little bit of that as I read it. Now, the next book in the series is a 5-star book for me. I read this book at a time in my life where I needed this story. It's called Breathe Annie Breathe. Our main character, Annie, is running a marathon in honor of her boyfriend who was killed in a car accident, or in a car crash. So you are following her. She hates running. I could relate to that. But he was going to run this marathon, and she decides that she is going to run a marathon in his honor. And so it's going through her journey of that. Of course, she finds a love interest, because that's what all these books have. But this book came into my life at a time when I had recently lost a friend in a car crash. So I cried through this book many times. I've probably read this book 10 to 12 times. This one is by far my favorite book in the series because it came into my life at a time that I needed it. So this one is my favorite, but I think every single book in this series, or in this entire series, impacts and can connect to somebody in a different way. But yeah, this one is a book that's on my 5-star list that I will continue to reread because it was a very healing experience to read this book. The next book, so this book and this book again take place in the same time period. The next one, Jesse's Girl, I believe is also around the same time period. And this one gets away from sports. It's actually about one of the very early, like, kind of main-ish characters, one from Catching Jordan, the younger sister. And this is about a girl who wants to be in the music industry, meets a boy who's very famous in the music industry, and her opinion of him is not great at first, but things change as she gets to know him and understand why he is the way that he is. And her kind of loss of trust and gaining of trust again. So this one's also a really good one because it's just very different from a lot of the other ones. The next one in the series is Defending Taylor. This is the second to last book. It is about a soccer player, and I think this one does a little bit of a time hop as well, and like the last 2 books in the series are a little bit more of a time hop. But she is, I believe, a senator's daughter. I can't remember. I haven't read this one too often. She's senator's daughter, gets kicked out of her private school, kind of takes the fall for someone else, I think. But yeah, she's a senator's daughter, and yeah, so it says she lies to cover for her boyfriend, and then ends up going to the public school where she's kind of the odd person out. And she's a soccer player, so it's getting back to that sports theme. But this one I have only read like 2 or 3 times, so I think this is one that when I get a chance or just need a quick read, I might pick up again and reread, just because I have not read it that much. And then the last book in the series, which is so sad because I love these books, and I actually need to check to see if she has written or put out any more books recently. This one was released in 2017. It is about a Maggie who is a swimmer, and her goal is to make the Olympics one day, and she's very singularly focused on that goal, and is like really trying to succeed at the expense of some of the things in her personal life. So that is all of the books in this series, all 8 of them, and this series is a young adult series, so they're pretty quick reads, and I would definitely recommend people to read them. I think they are books that tackle issues that people need to talk about, but still in like light, fun, romance ways. So that is my little impromptu book talk on a series that I love. I think I might do this more with like books that I love, but I thought, why not start out big and talk about an entire series. So these are going to go back on my shelves, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.